The UK is completely falling apart. We have Global Government Affairs posting on X stating the UK's Online Safety Act, while intended to protect users, risks severe infringement on freedom of speech by empowering regulators to mandate broad content removal, which is, again, the main reason why I am against this wholeheartedly. Platforms face immense pressure to over-censor legal expression to avoid hefty fines, stifling open discourse and individual liberties worldwide. At X, we remain committed to defending our users against such overreach. So good on X for doing that. And this was actually quote tweeted by Preston Byrne, who is currently alongside Ron Coleman in an active lawsuit against the UK, continuing the constitutional freedoms of people in America. He said, I was asked to comment on a story today about this. Apparently, Ofcom wants to punish X for over-censoring user content, making the UK government look bad. In their view, X violates the Online Safety Act by over-complying. If Ofcom goes after X, I hope Elon kicks their ass. And this is his comment on it. He said, if Ofcom is indeed trying to ding X over censorship, this is a desperate attempt to try to reframe censorship mandate as a free speech mandate. Anyone experienced in First Amendment jurisprudence knows that dog won't hunt. So does the US government, which has been fully briefed on every censorship attempt Ofcom has attempted thus far on American social media sites, including Sasu, Gab, Kiwi Farms, and 4chan. Isn't it funny and curious how they're going after websites that they're trying to be like, portray them as, oh, these are the dark corners of the internet, the bad websites? Because if they can find a crack and get in with it anywhere, then they can use that to exploit it to go everywhere they want to and use that case as the precedent that was put forward to mandate it. With this pivot, Ofcom is essentially communicating that the United Kingdom wants platforms to remove content it disapproves of and platform content it approves. This is both unconstitutional censorship and unconstitutional compelled speech, and is antithetical to U.S. free speech doctrine. Free speech means that the government doesn't get to choose what content people see. If they go after X, I hope Elon kicks their ass. All the above is on the record. So shout out to Preston for a banger statement on the situation going on with X right now. And I wanted to follow up on the situation with 4chan right now, because this is something that he is highly, highly invested in. This is him quote tweeting Aaron R. Holloway, who said, look, I hate 4chan. I think it's super toxic. But honestly, UK codes can F off. If you try to do it to them, the next thing you'll try to do is infringe on reporters, writers, and authors because they're easy to target. They're known, unlike most commenters, which is very true. Again, they just want to find an in to be able to silence people and push their propaganda on what they want out there. Because at the end of the day, power of voice is more powerful than money. Because with the power of voice, you can make all the money in the world. Preston said, this is 100% correct. Whatever you might think of the UK's earliest Online Safety Act targets in the USA, all controversial platforms, the ambition of the OSA is to control the entire internet. We have to hold the line here now, today. Otherwise, they're coming for everyone. This is legit the slippery slope that I've been warning people about for a very long time. And Preston sees it as well. And there's more to the story, though. DNA Tulsi Gabbard here, serving as the 8th director of the National Intelligence under leadership of President Trump. And she said, over the past few months, I've been working closely with our partners in the UK, alongside President of the United States and VP, to ensure Americans' private data remains private and our constitutional rights and civil liberties are protected. As a result, the UK has agreed to drop its mandate for Apple to provide a backdoor that would have enabled access to the protected encrypted data of American citizens and encroached on our civil liberties, which was quote tweeted by Preston as well, because this guy has been cooking. He says the UK folds on the Apple backdoor. Bravo to the Trump admin on a huge win for American tech. When are they going to fold on the extraterritoriality under the Online Safety Act? This is a great sign. It's going in the right direction, because they were trying to get a backdoor into Apple's security and saying, oh, it's for your safety. We just need to have access from the government. That way we can check on the citizens, and your devices, we're not going to interact with them or ruin them or mess with them at all. We just want to be able to check on our citizens. Something about backdoor entries that this was told by an NVIDIA senior executive or senior engineer at NVIDIA. They said backdoors are actually the worst thing you could possibly do, because that's where the malware comes in, the viruses come in, any problems come in, is if you create a backdoor. You can't do that when it comes to technology for actual safety and protection of citizens. The UK folded on that. But you know what I found very interesting is Preston continues talking about the Ofcom situation. He goes, also, I'm not sure what Ofcom is smoking, but there is no rule in English law which requires a website to platform lawful speech. Maybe the UK is taking an expansive view of Article 10, but that's just more evidence that Article 10 is vague and crap and should be abolished. He said, ergo, where the OSA states that sites have to have regard for freedom of speech, if Ofcom, which by the way, Ofcom is completely out of its element lately, pushing its jurisdiction everywhere it can. Like the UK, by the way, it's fucked, but they're welcome to do whatever the hell they want to do over there. Just don't come over to America and tell America that we got to follow your rules. If you are becoming North Korea in the UK, have at it, bro. If your citizens are going to allow that, okay. I don't understand how that's happening, but okay, if that's what you want to be, have at it. But don't come across the ocean to America and be like, hey, just because your website is able to be accessed in the UK doesn't mean we have to follow your rules. If the website is hosted and housed over here or somewhere else, you do not have the jurisdiction to cross the ocean and be like, oh, you need to now bend the knee to us with what we are changing our rules to. That's not how this works. They have got to be smoking something really wacky to think that this is something logical. Over-censoring should thus not be a problem. I'm not surprised they don't know this. And he quote tweets Starmer out, says, translation, you were supposed to censor it without them knowing. Right. You're supposed to censor only what we want you to censor. And we aren't going to tell you what we want you to censor until you get an enforcement notice for censoring incorrectly. Yeah, no, absolutely not. Which, by the way, is what the UK is trying to do right now with 4chan. And I covered this in a previous video when they sent that letter, the cease and desist to 4chan. And 4chan was just like, yeah, go pound sand. We don't have to bend the knee to you guys. We don't live in the UK. We aren't housed in the UK. We aren't hosted in the UK. We have nothing to do with the UK. Get the fuck out of here. The same thing the Pirate Bay did to America, actually, back in 2004, ironically, when America tried to do this to, what was it, Sweden, I believe? And they were like, yeah, no, we're not housed there. You don't have the jurisdiction for us here. And they were right. Same goes for us, for them coming to us. And Preston quote tweets Patrick McKenzie, who said, this is a recipe for censorship by, come on, you know we all want, followed by 0.0 democratic accountability. All independent decisions of firms made for commercial reasons. We have no orders. We have seen this movie before, depressingly frequently. And Preston says, yep, this good news is the First Amendment shields Americans from the UK's censorship Calvin ball. Thanks to the open internet, tens of millions more people know that today than they did 3 days ago. And savvy coming in, malicious compliance. Every company should do it for a week. They can say, well, we have to because the UK government is so vague. Once enough people have finally been inconvenienced by it, then change can come. Maybe. My concern is that people these days are afraid to speak up and do anything. People are too comfortable. People don't want to rile up their lives. They just want to live their life out. They don't want to be inconvenienced by inconveniences. But people will only put up with so much. If you start taking away the internet, then you take away their cell phones, then you take away their power, then you take away their running water. At some point, people are going to be like, hey, bro, we need to actually stop and fight back. And that's when actual change happens. What's happening right now in the UK is extremely concerning. And I've said this before as well, many times. In 2025, we're past halfway through it. I have genuine concerns for the safety of the UK in general with what the government is doing to the people. Because at some point, people can only take so much. And this is getting completely out of hand. I don't know how they're dealing with it over there. All the comments I'm getting, people are saying, thank you for speaking up about this. Keep talking about this. Keep being heard about this. I don't agree with Starmer. I hate Starmer. I don't want him there. It's the same. It's, by the way, the same exact vibe that I get living in California when it comes to Governor Newsom. I'm like, I don't like Governor Newsom. I don't want him to be here in power here. Everyone I talk to, no one likes him. Everyone wants him gone. But for some reason, he's still there, and no one understands how he's still there. Nobody wants him or likes him. It's kind of the same thing with Starmer. I don't understand how this person is still in power, and yet nobody seems to be backing them. It's very curious, I guess you could say. But we will see what happens. I want to keep covering this just to keep shining a spotlight on it. But at the same time, it's very scary with what Starmer is doing over the UK. And my heart goes out to the people in the UK. With that, I'll leave that there.